We now begin with the news. In Palestine, at least 12 people, including 3 children, were killed during a shelling carried out by the Israeli occupation forces in the southern Gaza Strip. According to local media, this new attack targeted tents of displaced people located in the so-called humanitarian zone of Al-Mawasi, leaving also 15 other people injured. In this sense, the Palestinian authorities sent civil protection teams and medical personnel to the place to recover the bodies and assist the Zionist army. And the Center for the Protection of Palestinian Journalists once again called on the international community, especially to the UN, to stop Israeli attacks against journalists in the Gaza Strip. In a statement, the entity warned that the number of professionals killed in the coastal enclave since October of 2023 represents 3 times the number of communicators killed during the Second World War. They also warned that the high number of journalists killed in Gaza will have long-term effects in Palestine. In this regard, they stress that the world must assume its responsibilities and take decisive action to stop Israeli violations and ensure respect for human rights in the occupied territories. And more on the recent Israeli strike. At least 11 people, including 3 children, were killed and 15 were injured in the latest Israeli strike bombardment in the town of Al-Mawasi in the southern Gaza Strip. As we were saying, civil defense teams and medical personnel were dispatched to the site of the attack to recover the bodies and treat the wounded. Palestinian media also denounced that the Director General of the Palestinian Police in the Strip, Mahmoud Salah, was martyred in this airstrike. Since October 2023, as we were saying, Israel has killed over 45,500 Palestinians, most of them women and children. And in the midst of the Israelis' genocidal actions against the Palestinian people, resistance is maintained, and not only at the military level, but also through culture. These are images of local musicians rejecting Tel Aviv's crimes.
شايب حزين انتوا بتحتفلوا واحنا بنموت تحت الاسواق المنصور لكن غزي بتبقى صمود رغم الجيران.
The Ecuadorian city of Guayaquil has said goodbye on Wednesday to the 4 missing minors whose deaths were confirmed on Tuesday. The children were mourned at their homes from Tuesday to Wednesday. Judge Daniel Lor granted 10 days for the government through the Ministry of Defense to make a public apology to the families. As stipulated in the sentence, the state must carry out a public act of recognition of the events that occurred, which will be broadcasted on national television. On Tuesday, a judge ordered preventive detention against the 16 active duty members of the Ecuadorian Air Force who are being prosecuted for these events. Ecuadorians on Wednesday demanded justice as they buried the 4 miners murdered during a military operation in Guayaquil, whose remains were found on Christmas Eve. The children, identified as brothers Jose and Ismael Arroyo, Saúl Arboleda and Steven Medina, were between 11 and 15 years old. Authorities have said that they will investigate whether the crime was an extrajudicial execution or linked to organized crime, as Guayaquil is one of the main cities affected by drug violence. The bodies were found near an Air Force facility in Taura, about an hour from Guayaquil.